Welcome to the October 19th, 2023 City Council meeting. I am City Council President Jim Nash, and I will be presiding this evening. Before we begin, I want to let everyone know that this meeting and all participating on Zoom will be audio and video recorded. Due to a recent uptick in COVID infection rates, we are following the recommendations of Health Commissioner O'Leary to take steps to socially distance when meeting indoors. We've also made masks available for those in attendance. I want to thank Commissioner O'Leary for her assistance. And as you can see, we're all seated 6 feet apart. I also want to thank our administrative assistant, Laura Krutzler, who came in earlier today and set up the room like this so we could have this nicer arrangement than we had at our last meeting where we were trying to figure this out. As always, I want to extend a special thanks to Northampton Open Media for their efforts to make this hybrid meeting possible. I now call the City Council to order. Laura, can you please call the roll?
Sure. Councilor Elkins.
Here.
Councilor Foster.
Here.
Councilor Gore.
Here.
Councilor Jarrett.
Here.
Councilor Labarge.
Here.
Councilor Maori.
Here.
Councilor Moulton.
Here.
Councilor Nash.
Here.
And Councilor Perry.
Here.
Council President, you have a quorum.
Okay, and we're all here, so we can do voice votes. All right. All right. We are convened. In some reason, I can't see the whole gallery. What am I missing here? Is there anybody in the room who would like to make a public comment? And is there anybody remotely? Do you see anybody?
Yeah. There's.
There's a number of people. It's kind of strange, right? Oh, there we go. Okay, so how do you make that stay? All right, can you unmute them? First up, we have Jackie Balance. I think all of you know the rules. You have 2 minutes. And that we ask that folks be respectful, and when we get to the end of the 2 minutes, if you could just wrap up your sentence. So, Jackie, you have the floor.
Hi. Thank you. Jackie Balance from Florence. I hope to see all of the councilors at the October 30th presentation of the new Historic Preservation Plan, which is being called the HPP. The exciting news is that the HPP supports neighborhood conservation districts as a useful tool to preserve our historic neighborhoods without the onerous restrictions of traditional historic districts. The HPP also indicates that all of our older neighborhoods have historic value, including our historic working class neighborhoods where gentrification has threatened the traditionally affordable housing for working class and middle class residents. The HPP also finds historic value that needs assessment in every single ward. None of you was left out. I did want to talk with each of you before the presentation to hear your thoughts and questions, but Councilor Maori has suggested that a conversation after the presentation might be more fruitful. So I will reschedule the meetings already planned and issue another invitation to talk after October 30th. I just want to make one thing clear tonight. The HPP mentions in a footnote that in 2019, the Massachusetts Land Court invalidated Brookline's NCD bylaw. A representative of the Mass Historical Commission has told us that the Brookline ordinance went too far, suggesting that it included NCD guidelines that were beyond the purview of usual zoning regulations. However, no other established NCD in the Commonwealth has been challenged, and Cambridge is actually in the process of establishing their 5th neighborhood conservation district. My friends and I look forward to having personal conversations with each of you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Next up is City Clerk Powers. All right. Oh, now I muted you, sorry, Pam. Oh, no, I did it again. Welcome, Pam, finally.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm sorry, I can't figure out, how to start video. Here we go. You might think I've never had one of these Zoom meetings before. Okay, sorry
Start your
about
time.
that. All right. It's my, just before the election, 3 minutes, or actually 2 minutes now, public service announcement. And I'm going to begin by saying if you visited a local market lately, you may have been asked to sign the initiative petition or petitions regarding questions that may appear on the biennial state ballot in 2024 or 2026. The Massachusetts Attorney General's office certifies that a petition meets the state's constitutional requirements, and the Northampton City Clerk's office, and the Northampton City Clerk's website has a direct link to the AG's website where you can find more information about petitions that are known to be circulating. All petitions must include a summary of the proposed law or amendment. Sometimes the legal language will take up the whole front side of the form, while the back side is used for signature gathering. Even if a petition is attached to a clipboard, I encourage residents to turn the document over and read the summary to be fully aware about what they are signing. In Massachusetts, petitioners can be paid to collect signatures. Incentivizing the job provides equitable involvement in the democratic process by interested advocates, but there's also the potential to mislead the signer about the proposed language of the petition. The summary at the top of the petition will provide a most accurate picture about what you are signing. Being informed before you are approached can provide for a better experience in the democratic process. I'd also like to remind you that early voting begins this Saturday, October 21st, and will be held weekdays and Saturdays until November 3rd. Voting will be at City Hall, and dedicated parking is available on Crafts Avenue on these dates. The last day to register to vote before the November 7th election is Saturday, October 28th, and the office will be open until 5 p.m. on that day for both registering to vote and voting. Our website is the best source for election updates, and please visit us at the City Clerk's website under the Elections tab. If you are interested in working the polls in November, you can contact our office and we will give you further information. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pam. All right, next up is Jacqueline McCreener.
All right, thank you, Council President Nash. My name is Jacqueline McCreener, and I live in Northampton. It is a fact that on planet Earth, without the existence of healthy, mature trees, we all die. Unfortunately, trees cannot speak for themselves. They need people who understand them and value their importance to speak up on their behalf. Trees provide so many benefits, such as creating oxygen, sequestering carbon, protecting us from flooding, preventing soil erosion, cleaning toxins and chemicals from our water supplies, providing wildlife habitat, providing in some cases sustainable building material, and they are also spectacularly beautiful. Healthy mature trees need to be prioritized in Northampton. Please know that a study was conducted that showed over a 10-year period from 2011 to 2021 that 133.3 acres of mature tree canopy were lost due to new construction and development in the city of Northampton. That averages out to a loss of 13.3 acres per year. It may not seem like a lot, but to local tree and forest experts, that is an alarming rate which should no longer be ignored. Whether it's planned village zoning, zero lot line, reduced lot line, form-based code, or the current proposed Main Street redesign, the city is deprioritizing our healthy mature trees. On top of this, we have an aging tree canopy. Decimating healthy mature trees at the rate we are going, when we already have an aging tree population, is really not wise. It takes saplings decades of growth until they reach the age of 30 or 35 years old to begin providing the same benefits as a healthy mature tree. Increased droughts and floods, which are part of the climate crisis, decrease each sapling's chance of survival these days. Please wake up and realize that we just don't have that kind of time here. We need to start prioritizing the protection of our healthy mature trees now. This includes our healthy public shade trees in downtown Northampton on Main Street. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Okay, next up, Benjamin Spencer. Welcome.
Hello.
Hello, welcome.
Hi, thank you. My name is Benjamin Spencer. I live on Rust Avenue in Northampton, and I'm here tonight to say that I fully support the redesign project for Main Street. I've lived in Northampton for over 30 years, raised 2 kids here with my wife, I love here, and I want to see our downtown thrive. There are many reasons to love this plan, and here's one that I thought I would just mention, and that is the issue of mental health. The CDC estimated in 2021 that 40% of students, middle school, high school, experience poor mental health, feeling hopelessness, persistently sad, social pressures, anxiety, stress from school and home, etc. It's a real problem. A recent study reported on NPR described a program of biking in middle school that is takes kids out on bikes 6 to 8 weeks of the school year, and that demonstrated the benefits of biking on the mental health of teens. The best way to support mental health is to provide a safe and supportive environment, and that's exactly what the Main Street redesign plan does. I think that we are very fortunate that Main Street is this nice wide street that can easily accommodate automobile traffic and separated bike lanes. I think we need to continue to think of future generations. We need to think of the greater good, and we need to think of the world we're building for our kids and support them. So, thank you. I especially want to thank Councilors Marion Labarge, Karen Foster, Alex Jarrett, and Jim Nash for putting this resolution.
Thank you. Benjamin. Okay, next up is Martha, I think it's Ebner. Oh, I screwed up. Are you unmuting and then I'm...
That's his wife.
All right,
That's
Martha, welcome.
Hi. Thank you. My name is...
I'm sorry, could you start again? We lost you.
Sure. My name is Martha Ebner, and I live in Northampton. And I'm here to share that I support the Main Street redesign project and its goal of a safer, more walkable, cyclable, and accessible downtown for all people. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martha. All right. Next up is James Lowenthal. You have the floor, James.
Thank you, Councilor Nash. I'm James Lowenthal. I live at 181 Crescent Street. And I'm speaking on behalf of Northampton City Lights, which is a citizens group here that supports responsible outdoor lighting at night in Northampton. We have hundreds of people who have expressed interest and support for protecting the nighttime environment, and we represent that voice. Northampton is one of more than 50 cities and towns in Massachusetts that have some kind of zoning bylaw or policy or something else that governs outdoor lighting. But ours is woefully out of date. Ours actually, in Northampton, even though we have one, it predates LEDs. And it's in need of updating. And that's one of the things on the agenda tonight, which I'm afraid I won't be able to stick around to hear that discussion. So I wanted to speak now. We believe that you can have all the light you need for feeling safe and comfortable and reassured without dangerous glare, without the blue light that's bad for human health and wildlife, and without blotting out the stars. The revised zoning bylaw goes a long way towards that goal. It's a big improvement. We have some suggestions for more improvements, but we think it's overall good and we support it. And then I also just wanted to speak in favor of the resolution in support of the Main Street redesign. My family and I walk and bike to downtown regularly. I just got back from picking up Bueno Isano on my bike, and we appreciate making Main Street even more welcoming. Great, thank you.
Thank you, James. Okay. Okay, next up is Randy Saylor.
Hi, my name is Randy Saylor. I live in Florence, and I want to also express my support for the Picture Main Street project. I think it's a once in several generations project. Goodness gracious, by reading all the committees and all the time that's been spent working with all the departments on preparing for the project, it's taken a generation almost to get that all done. And I think it's an incredibly well vetted and well planned project. I think we need to be careful and support businesses as much as possible during the project, but I strongly support it and appreciate the resolution and encourage all the councilors to support that. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Next up is Adele Franks.
Thank you very much. I would like to reiterate what Randy just said. I would just wanted to add my voice in support of the Picture Main Street redesign. And I hope that you will unanimously approve that resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Adele. All right, next up is Kira Anderson.
Oh, hi.
Hello, welcome. You have the
Oh,
floor.
good. Thank you. I don't know if my internet is cooperating. My name is Kira Anderson. I live at 42 Main Street in Northampton, and I am just joining the voices already speaking in support of the Picture Main Street redesign. I just want to echo what's been said about the really thoughtful process throughout, a lot of opportunity for public input, and really thoughtful design that is addressing a critically important issue about having a vibrant, thriving downtown that also plans for the future that's already here. Climate change, our need for trees, and everything that the redesign addresses. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you, Kira. I'm not seeing any more hands here on the Zoom. Is there anybody here in council who wants to speak for public comment? Okay. Okay, we will move on to announcements. Next up is announcements from councilors and the mayor. Councilors, any announcements?
Yes,
Councilor Labarge.
thank you. Just a reminder, October 31st, the Halloween parade in Florence, Trinity Row Park. Judging costumes is going to be at 5:30 p.m., and I have to be there at 5:15, and I haven't decided what I'm going to wear yet. Takeoff at the parade is 6 o'clock p.m. So everybody be there, and let's have fun.
Thank you, Counselor. Oh, everybody's here, so. No other announcements? Mayor, and then Counselor Jerry.
Yeah.
Mayor likes to go last, but.
Yeah, I just wanted to encourage, as it was already mentioned in public comment, but I wanted to encourage people to come to the Historic Preservation Plan meeting on Monday, October 30th at 6:30 p.m., both here in City Council chambers and on Zoom.
Thank you. Go ahead, Mayor.
Good evening, everybody. I have a few things to announce. And yes, definitely the Rag Shag. I can't wait. I've got to say, judging the Rag Shag parade, which I did for the first time last year, is one of the hardest things I did last year. There are amazing costumes, and it's very hard to judge. And I also don't know what I'm going to wear, so I got to get on that. Other announcements. So this weekend is the Fire Rescue Open House on Saturday, October 21st from 10 to 2. There's face painting, food, fun, more, of course, fire trucks, lots of, I should come up with more alliteration there, but face painting, food, fun, fire trucks. And it's a great event, so go and give some love to Fire Rescue and enjoy that. That's at 26 Carlin Drive, so that's Carlin Drive and King Street. We are having a municipal winter clothing drive right now that goes until October 26th. I'm looking for winter clothing that's gently used. This is pants, sweaters, rain gear, hats, gloves, mittens, coats, of course. Socks and underwear, only new for socks and underwear. Everything else can be gently used, please. Also personal care items, so toiletries, lip balm, brushes, menstrual products. And there are many drop-off locations. So at Forbes Library, first floor at City Hall, in the police department lobby, in the fire rescue lobby. So when you go to the open house, drop some clothes off as well. And also the Senior Center and Department of Health and Human Services. So if you have some items, we would really appreciate it. And then on Friday, October 27th from 12:30 to 3, the Division of Community Care and MANA are hosting a fall festival at Pulaski Park that will include festival activities like gourd painting and outdoor bowling. And at that time, they'll be distributing the warm clothing that they will have collected and the personal care items to those that are in need. And then any leftover items will be distributed to our community partners, so MANA, the Northampton Survival Center, the Cott Resource Center, Craig's Doors, Cutchins, and so come out to that event. And again, any extra clothing that you have around that no one can use, please go to one of those drop-off locations.
May, are they children?
Yes, all sizes. So go through and find, yes, I had collected a few years of outgrown coats that I've been waiting and brought today. Another thing, fall weekend at Look Park. That is October 29th and 28th and 29th, 2 to 8 p.m. There'll be food trucks, live music, lawn games, face painting, an adult beverage bar, fire pits, treats, train rides. The festival is free to enter with a $10 parking entry fee per vehicle. There's the haunted train ride as well. And this year, Parks and Rec is running a Kids Land area. So that's, you can buy a wristband for kids for $10, and kids 2 and under are free. And the Kids Land will have a bouncy slide, carnival games, lawn sports, arts and crafts, and of course, costumes are encouraged at that event. So lots of fun fall stuff. Thanks.
I have one quick announcement. Sunday, October 22nd, from noon to 2 p.m., the Ward 3 Neighborhood Association will be holding its annual meeting at Lamprin Park. That's the triangular park right next to Bridge Street School. The event will include the election of board officers. Light refreshments will be served. Thank you to the Sheriff's Office for providing a tent, so if it's inclement weather on Sunday, there's a covering. There's also chairs for people to be comfortable. And a thank you to Parks and Rec for allowing the Ward 3 Neighborhood Association to use the park. Also, any candidates running for elected office in the city will be allowed the opportunity to speak to those gathered for 5 minutes. So anybody who's running at large for any of the seats or for any Ward 3 candidates are encouraged to attend. Candidates are also welcome to hand out literature and meet with residents. So that's Sunday at noon. The only other, I had one other thing. It appears the worst of the Damon Road construction has been completed. So, thank you. Any other announcements? Okay. Next up, we have presentations. And the first we're going to hear from Director Steve Counter with Veteran Services. And just a note that our first quarter financial report from Director Nardi will be delivered at our next meeting. And so, Director Connor, whenever you're ready.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Just under announcements, there's a Veterans Day Parade this year on Saturday, November 11th. It is going from the VFW Florence Civic area and marching to where the ceremony is going to be, which is at Trinity Row Park. So, under announcements. Under another announcement, I'm here to talk about, and I didn't coordinate very well if Laura is around. Yeah, there she goes. She put it up. Thank you, Laura. So,
great.
Folks, I've been here. I've been doing my job. By February, it's going to be 20 years I've done my job. When I was first asked to apply and then got hired, it was to deal with the veterans homeless population. And that has remained one of my top, it is my top focus in what I do, even with all the district and everything. But the second biggest priority came after I had the job for a while, and that was the reintegration of service members returning home. Now they're veterans, and they have to be part of the bigger community. It has been a huge struggle. Everybody says, well, they don't get involved, they don't do this, they don't do that. They don't feel seen. And it's a huge problem. Part of the reason is just basically numbers. Half of 1% of our population actually serve in the military these days. Now, we go to World War II, Korea, even Vietnam, there was a draft. There were people that served and everybody knew them. We have people in this community who have served. They're either in the National Guard or the reserves, or they did active duty and they've come home, but they're invisible. And they feel it, and their families feel it. And trying to reconnect them into the community is really hard because it is such a different culture. So for years, I've been trying to come up with different things that will help us get there. We, about a year ago, decided we were going to do an art exhibit. We figured that would really get the message through, not through, all intellectual, but through the heart, okay? And we ended up partnering up with APE here in Northampton. One of the primary people from APE is a woman by the name of Molly Maxner. We had tried to get her, she wrote a play many years ago based on her own experience in her family with her older sister and her father. He was a Vietnam veteran who, little ways away from the war, finally got diagnosed with PTSD because he didn't know what was happening to him. He was like, I don't know how to deal with what's going on. He finally went up to the VA in Leeds, to the Ward 8 program, which is the PTSD ward. I've now been doing this for this many years. It's one of the best programs in the entire country. He accredits that place for saving his life. But the reason this thing is called a stone's throw is because it affects everybody. When somebody serves, if they have a family, and there's many who now do 20 years, 30 years, they definitely feel the effect of their service. But even if they do something and then later on have a family, take it from me, I served, I have issues, and my family was affected by it. Well, so was her family. Her father got diagnosed with PTSD. Yes, he got the help and all of that, but the residual effect of what happened with them lasts a very long time, but it also lasts with the whole community. So she is working, she's put together this art exhibit which talks about the effect of the family and when somebody serves, what that all means. What she has done is she has taken recordings of over 40 people, either veterans or their family members, spouses, children. We've got it recorded. She's doing the exhibit at APE, and you will walk in there, you're gonna put on a set of headphones, and you're gonna listen to people as you walk through this experience. It's the experience to let everybody know that your neighbor, your cousin, whoever you knew who served, this is what they come home to. This is the disconnect. And it's important that we know that all the people who served are important to us. We can say thank you for your service, but if you don't ask them anything more, if you don't include them in anything more, it's an empty gesture, I guess is what I would say. And so we've taken it a little bit further, and we're asking everybody who just is even curious about what it's like to serve and what the family member goes through when that person serves, to go to our exhibit and experience what they go through. This is going to be incredible. It's going on from November 3rd. I think it ends the 30th, as I read my chart, and everybody can see it up there. The art exhibit is stationary. It's going to go on the entire time. We also are doing art exhibit of people who have painted, sculpted, done other things. That's going to happen the whole time as well. It's going to be displayed in both Memorial Hall and City Hall, the mayor's office on the second floor, Forbes Library, and down, and I can never remember the name of it, but it's the New England Visionary Artists across from the bowling alley, right by the dike. They have all this artwork. We're working with Warrior Art Room, the VA. Some of that artwork is coming from the VA Art Therapy and from Soldier On, which is the homeless program for veterans. It's going to be a great experience. I hope all of you can come. I hope all the members of the city will come and understand what it's like for veterans, those that serve, and those that come home. As you can see, there's events going on all the whole month with the adopted play, with poetry. So what I would tell everybody is all those events, most all of them, you need to have a ticket. Doesn't cost anything, but you need to have a ticket because there's limited seating for everything that's going on. So I'm so proud of the city. ARPA has helped pay for it from a grant from the city. We also got some money through the Arts Council, and then we did some fundraising on our own. It's going to be a really exciting month for us. It's hopefully going to make my dream come true to help the families that have come home, who have moved to the area, get reintegrated with the rest of the community. But people need to know what their experience is, and this is our attempt. So, thank you.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you for all of the work you do. This is terrific. I look forward to participating in this.
I'm very excited.
I can tell, and it's very meaningful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Presentations.
Councilor Labarge has a question.
Councilor Labarge.
Yes. Steve, where can we get the tickets?
So if you go, there's on the poster that's been around, and I will try to send it out, there's a barcode. But if you go to APE website, it will tell you how to reserve the tickets for each one, and whether you want to go to the poetry reading, the play. We also have a talk back. I don't mean to take too much time, but what's really fascinating, the veteran that I'm talking about, he lived on the same street with me on Vernon. I had my kids lived on Vernon Street. My daughter became really good friends with his youngest daughters. He lived on Vernon Street. He went to Ward 8 from there and returned. So the family grew up on Vernon Street. And the connection between that is really important. He also, in 1979, had decided that he needed to help a Vietnamese family to come to this country. He basically took in a family from Vietnam. They lived in the basement for a few months until they got settled, and then they lived somewhere else. The son of that family then turned around, became an American citizen, and then joined the military. He's going to talk at APE on the 15th of November. That also requires tickets. And the reason it requires tickets, it's limited space. We're going to put chairs up. But there's no cost to any of those things, just the gala that we're having on the 10th. That's the only one that costs money. But everything else is free, but you do have to request tickets because it's going to get filled up.
Okay.
It's a regional thing, so it should be big.
Yeah, it's just because I didn't hear you announce where you could get the tickets.
Right, right.
Thank you.
Yeah, you can go through APE and you can do it right online.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You're
Councilman.
welcome.
Okay. All right, next up, and with the council's permission, I want to take things a little out of order tonight. I'd like to move the resolution up to the top to discuss that next. The reason being that the mayor has made a number of department heads at our disposal, and that some of them will be sticking around for items later on the agenda, but I think I'd like to honor that request, and so let's pull this up. So I'll read this into the record. Okay. In the year 2023, upon the recommendation of City Councilor Marianne Labarge, City Councilor Karen Foster, Councilor Alex Jarrett, and Councilor James Nash, we have Resolution R 23.389, a resolution in support of Picture Main Street. Be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Northampton in City Council assembled as follows. Whereas over the last 2 decades, this body has deliberated and adopted legislation to increase safety on our public ways by making them more accessible, walkable, and cyclable. We find that Picture Main Street is consistent with these efforts, and that Picture Main Street will improve the way our downtown functions and solidify Northampton's position as the region's premier destination for business, arts, entertainment, and general enjoyment. And whereas in 2005, the Transportation and Parking Commission, Board of Public Works, Planning Board, and City Council all endorsed the Municipal Transportation Plan, which states the city's transportation system should be a multimodal one that provides many different types of transportation options. And whereas also in 2005, the Planning Board and the Board of Public Works held public meetings to consider the Northampton Streetscape Improvement Plan, which proposed a new downtown with wider sidewalks, shorter crosswalks, and bike lanes. And whereas in 2008, after 28 months of public engagement, City Council adopted a new strategic plan, the Sustainable Northampton Plan, which holds as a guiding principle that we will make the city increasingly more walkable, bikeable, and transit-oriented.
Request real quick, Laura, can you screen share that resolution so that not everybody here has the paper in front of them?
Oh, good idea.
Thanks. Sorry to interrupt.
It's okay, yeah, all right. All right, whereas in 2013, after 4 years of public engagement, City Council adopted a comprehensive zoning package consistent with Sustainable Northampton, establishing regulations to combat climate change, focusing development towards the city's core, and improving connectivities for pedestrians and cyclists. The Sustainable Northampton Plan has since been updated with the pedestrian and bicycle plan in 2017, open space and multi-use plan in 2018, and climate resilience and regeneration plan in 2021. Whereas in 2015, City Council adopted MassDOT's Complete Streets Policy, which is City Ordinance 285-51, governing roadway construction to ensure that pedestrian, bicycle, and transit facilities are fully integrated into a safe and efficient transportation system. And whereas in 2022, MassDOT, our partners in Picture Main Street, introduced the Safe Speeds Initiative with the goal of 0 fatalities and serious injuries, which recommends employing a roadway treatment technical toolkit that promoting road diets, bike lanes, median islands, curb extensions, lane markings, and enhanced crosswalks. And whereas in 2022, the City Council adopted charter-based zoning for downtown Northampton, requiring pedestrian-oriented development that is in line with Picture Main Street. Whereas in 2023, the City Council approved a new downtown parking policy, restructuring parking fees to encourage parking on surface lots, the parking garage, and on side streets, encouraging turnover and freeing up space on Main Street for those who need or want to park closer to Main Street businesses and services. Whereas voters have consistently elected representatives who initiate and support the policies outlined above. Whereas the fire chief and the police chief have reviewed Picture Main Street and have suggested improvements that are now incorporated in the design, and both department heads are confident that emergency vehicles will be able to safely operate and respond to emergencies under the new design. Whereas the Director of Public Works, who oversees operations for multiple snow events each year impacting 160 miles of city roadway, is confident that DPW has the expertise to continue addressing snowfall accumulations along the 0.4 miles of Picture Main Street without complication. Whereas over the last 3 years, Picture Main Street offered multiple ways for residents and stakeholders to share their thoughts: 8 community forums, 5 meetings with downtown stakeholders, and 3 electronic surveys. Picture Main Street was posted and discussed at the Disability Commission, Bicycle and Pedestrian Committee, Transportation and Parking Commission, and the Planning Board. From initiation to the MassDOT 25% hearing, there were more than 20 occasions for residents and downtown stakeholders to express their ideas and concern. Therefore, let it be resolved, the Northampton City Council recognizes and stands by the more than 20 years of planning by our elected and appointed officials that will lead to a safer, greener, and more vibrant downtown, with their thorough planning reflected in Picture Main Street. Be it further resolved, we have witnessed and participated in the inclusive and thorough design process undertaken by the city, Tool Design Group, and MassDOT, as ideas, goals, and suggested compromises from various stakeholders have been considered, and we endorse Picture Main Street. Be it further resolved, it is time for us as a community to come together around Picture Main Street to begin working with our downtown business community to thrive and survive the coming construction, and to actualize our shared goal of a more walkable, cyclable, accessible downtown, firmly fixing Northampton as the region's premier destination for business, arts, entertainment, and general enjoyment. Be it further resolved that the administrative assistant to the City Council shall send a copy of this resolution to Mayor Gina Louise Shera, MassDOT, State Representative Lindsay Sabadoza, and State Senator Joe Comerford, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission, and the Daily Hampshire Gazette, and other local media outlets. And so, it is now in the record Sponsors, who would like to go first? Counselor Labarge.
Thank you. I have to say, as a city councilor, I was elected in 1998 and got sworn in 1999. In 2005, I was involved a bit with Councilor Dwight, Phil Sullivan at that time, many councilors. Also in 2008, the City Council adopted a new strategic plan, which was the Sustainable Northampton Plan. And you look at, and all the research that we've done on this, it is unbelievable the councilors that were highly involved from 2005 until they retired as city councilors and then on. And I'm still here, I love it, and I'm happy that I was involved in all these years of making what's happening right now in the city of Northampton something that I feel is change. Change has to happen, and I do support the redesign of Main Street because of being involved from 2008 right up to the beginning on Sustainable Northampton. So here I am talking about it. I'm proud about it. It was not an easy one for me with this happening right now. And I've had some people who have been not happy about this because they felt that a lot of their answers that they have been bringing forth to the mayor's office, they're not getting any information. That is not true. I have to say that is misleading because I know for a fact I can go ahead and shoot off my emails to the mayor and let her know that I have a resident that's very concerned that nobody is getting back to him. Well, I do have questions, and I'd like to bring some of these questions, if it's okay with you, Council President.
Well, you know what, let's finish with the sponsors.
All right,
the
why don't we
introduction,
do that?
And then we're going to have at it.
All right, that sounds fine.
The councilors and everybody have.
But I just want to say, with all those years and all the councilors that I've worked with, and I do still have quite a bit of contact with several of the councilors in the city. And I'm just honored that this is happening with me here because I am one of the last who have worked very tirelessly with every mayor right through this whole process. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilor.
Beat that
Who wants to go next? We didn't figure out a batting order, did we?
Uh-huh.
I'm happy to go. All right.
Councilor Jarrett.
Yeah, well, thank you, Councilor Labarge, for, one of the things I really like about this resolution is that it shows the history, shows the policy decisions through, our elected, appointed officials, and the boards and commissions that we've made over time. It led us to the picture Main Street design that we see today. And I believe that design is entirely consistent with these policy decisions. And I also want to voice support for the process that we've had over the years. The many opportunities for engagement and even the debate that's still happening. I think it's a valuable debate to be happening. We are listening, we are responding to that input. We don't always agree, but that doesn't mean we're not listening.
Right.
And also, remember the details of this design aren't done, but in that there's still. But the broad plan is done. And what I am asking, and I think what the other sponsors here are asking, is for us to come together on that broad plan. There's a lot to work out, especially around supporting businesses through the construction, but let's focus on moving forward. Well, thanks.
Yep.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Foster.
I'm the third at bat here.
Clean up.
Great, okay, I'll get on base. I would like to thank the co-sponsors. This was really a wonderful collaboration. And to echo Councilor Jarrett, I think the framing of the process that's gotten us here, as Councilor Labarge spoke to, this isn't something that's come out on a whim. This has been the result of years of forward-thinking planning and progress. And to reiterate that idea, we are listening, and in fact, there are compromises requested by the community that are reflected in the 25% design plans. I mean, there are people who would have loved to see only 2 travel lanes, only parallel parking, and in fact, after input from residents, there is going to remain some angled parking. So these kinds of compromises are happening, and I think it's really important that we recognize that this has been a community conversation, and so the plans aren't necessarily going to meet any one person's ideal vision, because we're trying to meet the vision and the needs of about 30,000 people. I did have a chance to do a touch of field research over the weekend, which was kind of exciting. I was up in Maine, and I drove through a very sweet town. It bills itself as the most picturesque town in Maine, called Wiscasset. And it was a town that years ago underwent a similar redesign process, and that one was driven by MainDOT rather than MassDOT. And all street parking was removed and the sidewalks were widened. And I didn't know that until after I had driven through the first time and was like, wow, what a charming, block that I just drove through. And did some more research about it. And it was a similar community process. Fears there had been, it's on Route 1 east of Brunswick, Maine, and it's goes over to a bridge over the river. So it was a very high traffic backup area. And MainDOT was trying to solve the traffic issues. And so this work was done, and it's now a pedestrian hangout. People are parking a block off the street and coming to the street, and it's a very charming downtown area. It was really sweet to see, and to sort of think about forward thinking, what that could mean for Northampton. It's an interesting misconception I've heard from some folks that, like, they're going to make us drive, or I'm sorry, they're going to make us walk or bike to downtown, but I want to drive. And, like, I just want to point out, people will still be able to drive to downtown, but the more of us who don't, I'm one of the lucky ones. I live about 1.5 miles from downtown. I ride my bike most days, so every day that my bike is chained to a bike rack, there is a spot available for somebody else. And most of my neighbors walk and bike, but some of my neighbors drive. And so that mix, the more people who don't have to drive or have a safe way through, the more spots there will be. And I think, 2 other things. One is I often hear that this won't work for people who have mobility concerns, but a lot of that I think has taken a fairly limited view of what that might mean to have a mobility concern. As many ways as there are people, and different mobilities are ways to address it. So there are people who are living downtown who use wheelchairs. They're not driving downtown and parking, they're already living downtown. Some people, as we talked about the angled and parallel parking, some people access their mobility devices through their trunk, other through the driver's side door, other through the passenger side door. And so again, the different parking options that have been proposed, and in fact the increase in accessible spots on Main Street, as well as wider sidewalks, should make a far more welcoming downtown. As we all know that the sidewalks can get fairly crowded on Main Street during the day, and this is a chance for residents to come together and visitors to come together and connect and to be downtown. As the plans look now, I think have incredible potential to increase mobility for everybody in the population. And the last thing that I just think is important to touch on is that I know that there's a lot of concern from businesses, and as a community, I would really love to see us be able to focus on how we're going to support our downtown businesses. But the truth is that the retail landscape is changing. I think we can all acknowledge that. People will come downtown for the experience and for things that they can't get somewhere else, or to meet friends. And we want to make it a place where people want to linger. And wider sidewalks, easier access in and out of stores, that is going to actually support businesses that will thrive through the changing downtown landscape. So I just think that's a really important point. We need to add into it, and I will
Better.
Thank you, Councilor Foster. First, I'd like to thank my co-sponsors here. I don't think I've been excited about a piece of legislation in possibly my whole time on council, because it's really has to do with, that the work that I've done, as Councilor Labarge was pointing out, that so much of the work we do has to do with building policy and plans, and that this particular project is the culmination of over 2 decades of having those discussions, and that I'm really excited about being able to put this forth tonight. The municipal transportation plan, the sustainable Northampton plan, the comprehensive zoning package in 2013, complete streets. So all of those were unanimously approved. That there was no votes of dissension or anything like that. And just for the record, I'd just like to read some of these names. Alex Giesland, Paul Spector, Jim Dostal, Bill Dwight, Marilyn Richards, Rita Blyman, Ray Labarge, Maureen Carney, Bob Reckman, David Narkowitz, David Murphy, Jesse Adams, Owen Freeman Daniels, Pamela Schwartz, Ryan O'Donnell, G.L. Shera, Elisa Klein, and also, one of our co-sponsors tonight, Mary Ann Labarge, and I'm really proud to have her part of this because she ties all of these votes together. When you're writing, so I kind of drove the sponsors crazy because we had this Google Doc we're working on, and I kept adding things into it, and, like last Friday, Alex and Karen are like, where are we going, Jim? What is this? It's like, now it's like 4 pages long. I keep pasting things in and stuff. And the thing is that, when you're writing a research paper, sometimes there's very limited amount of material. But this is a case of like, oh my God, you can just poke around the city website all day long and start pasting in other things. So here's some of the things that ended up on the cutting room floor. The Walker Parking Management Study in 2015, Pleasant Futures and Pleasant Street Rebuild, the recent redesign of Central King Street, CPA funds to support historic Northampton, 33 Hawley Street, Manna, the Lumberyard, all of these collective things that we're doing to support our downtown. Construction of the multi-use path network that connects us, the Route 10 bridge connects us with East Hampton. We have the bike tunnel and the bridge over Main Street connects us with Amherst and Florence. The return of passenger rail and over here on Pleasant Street, that all of these are big initiatives that all tie into this idea of creating this downtown that's vibrant, has pedestrian amenities, cycling, accessible, and that this council's actually done a lot of this work too. We've done character-based zoning. We've done bridge lighting. We've done outdoor furniture and staging. We've suspended regulations allowing outdoor dining. We've approved funding for the Resilience Hub, affordable housing right here next to City Hall. We've approved the RFP for 33 King Street. We've actually looked at accessible parking with Keith Benoit did a study of accessible parking across the city. We've looked at that. We've looked at overnight trash pickup. I mean, we've done so much work related to our downtown that we stand with all of these previous councils that we are also continuing to do that work. So, in light of all of that, I'm going to stop right there because I think I'm getting carried away. But this is, that supporting this design. I mean, we could all look at it and say, you know what, I wish I could change that piece right there. And it's like, at some point, you just got to stop. And, I had my chance. I was part of those meetings, as all of you were. And we put out our ideas, and some of them took, and some of them didn't. And it's time to let go, and it's time to start moving forward. And the last thing I want to say is this project is really good for our business community. I know our business community is worried. Construction can be really bad. We've just seen it on Damon Road. It can be bad for a few weeks, but it gets done, and you move on. And that when Pleasant Street was getting rebuilt, how many businesses called me to say that my business is being destroyed by this construction? None, all right? You know how many have called me since to say the bike lanes have ruined my business? None. That, yes, I got calls about, oh, that parking space is bad, and, oh, the construction on King Street. I heard about, like the sidewalk needed to be moved. But these were all things that got, that were addressed. But this overall concern that, that our business community is going to suffer. Pleasant Street is vibrant. King Street, the central part, is vibrant right now. I think it's going to be so cool when our downtown is rebuilt and is as vibrant as those two places. So, all right, now I'm going to stop.
No.
So,
Stop.
So, we now open the floor to other counselors to share their thoughts and weigh in. All right, wait, Councilor Labarge.
You were talking, and I was going to ask you a couple of add-ons here of opening the door in the year of 2005. It all started then. That's where our door opened. If you could just look at what you and I talked about, the names of the counselors in 2005. All right, I want you to open it up and read those names off, please, Counselor, which was extremely important in 2005. Which was the Transportation and Parking Commission Board of Public Works, the Planning Board, and City Council. They all endorsed the Municipal Transportation Plan, which states the city transportation system should be a multi-modal, one that provides many, many different types of transportation options. The city opened the door right then and there at 2005. All right? So read off the counselors that were on there.
Sure. Bardsley, Labarge, Marianne Labarge, Giesland, Spector, Dostal, Dwight, Richards, and both Rita Blyman and Ray Labarge were absent for that because,
yes.
and you guys did it in 2 readings, and I imagine you were the one that suspended the rules.
That's what opened the door with the, with the transportation, and we just kept moving on. Then, if you actually look in 2008, which was critical, after 28 months of nonstop meetings going on with the community. And I was younger then, all these meetings, whoopee, I was right on it. And you look what we've done here. Now, even with counselors now, we're moving forward. And the biggest thing that's happened right now is the redesign of Main Street. And you're all part of it. From 2005 on, we've all made it happen. And I'm happy about it. It means a lot to me. So, can I get to my questions?
Well, let me see if other counselors want to weigh in.
Oh, okay, that's,
and then,
I thought you wanted us
or do we want to get to, or should we?
Go ahead, Rachel.
However you want to proceed.
No, I want to thank, I really appreciated how, how the sponsors kind of explained how they got to the resolution, and a lot of what you said, Alex, I really appreciated the kind of history lesson. Seeing all that information together is really powerful.
Yes.
Seeing, the whole trail through the city, the whole history. So I appreciate, I don't think it's too long because the history, I think that's the point, isn't it? This has been a very long, thorough process. So, I appreciate that. I appreciate the sponsors. And the only thing I'd say, is, you say it is time for us as a community to come together. And really more my frustration has been misinformation than disagreement. I think a healthy community has disagreement. And so coming together, I just want to say, for me, that doesn't really mean we all have to agree, but what I would like to see, and we can maybe tackle a little bit tonight, is be on the same page with some of the facts. Because when I'm talking to someone and we just, if they just disagree with the idea, that's one thing. But when I hear, the project being couched in ways that just are not, factually accurate, that's where I think I've been disturbed about what the process. So just to say, I think we don't all have to think the same way, but we could at least agree on some of the same facts. I think that would be helpful. So I think, the FAQ was great that way, and I think this process as well, so thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Moulton.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilor Labarge, for being the through line. It's important that there be one, at least among us, who has been through all of this over that 18-year period. And thanks to the sponsors, this is a terrific history lesson, as Councilor Maori said, to see, and even though some got left, unfortunately, on the cutting room floor, to see all of these initiatives that have bubbled up over this almost 2 decades. And there are many compelling reasons to support Picture Main Street, and for me, one of the most compelling is that it is aligned with these initiatives. All of the people, the boards, the committees, the department heads, the mayors, and the councilors who have been involved have helped shape that with a great deal of community input. And this is in alignment with transportation goals, with sustainability goals, with accessibility goals, and it is very impressive to me in that way. And I think that all of us have had conversations with people who have questions, concerns, who are supporters of the project, and I concur with my colleagues. We are listening. We are, we are aware that that change brings uncertainties, but while the alignment with all these initiatives is something that's quantifiable, I also feel that this is a fortuitous moment for Picture Main Street, because I feel a certain synergy that is happening downtown. And it's a very exciting time that, to me, is reminiscent of the mid-'70s, when the first great revitalization of Main Street occurred. And we're looking at creating more housing opportunities for people of all income levels, but particularly affordable housing that has occurred already on Pleasant Street, that will occur on the project behind here that Valley CDC is doing. There's another big project on King Street at the Goggins real estate property. We don't know yet what is going to happen at 33 King Street, but that's certainly going to have an impact on Main Street. And we're at a time when other things are happening. The buildings that have been dormant, the Baptist Church becoming the Resilience Hub, the 2 iconic entertainment venues, the Iron Horse and the Calvin, coming back to life. This Picture Main Street really complements with an E, all of that's going on. And this is just a terrific time for it to be happening. And I agree that I really want us as leaders to work with the community now in moving forward on figuring out how to make this this construction period least painful during that 3-year period. And we have to work together to support the business community.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilor Gore.
Yeah, I want to thank the sponsors for bringing this forward, and especially Councilor Labarge for being there from 2005 till now to see this through. I'm glad that it's open for a discussion among us, because there's been so much back and forth through the community in the past few months. Excuse me. I'm also glad that there was a history in the resolution, because that's a history that I didn't really know myself. I didn't really know about the history of this whole design until I got involved with a group called Main Street for Everyone when I was running for office. And I was on board with Picture Main Street from that time on, because I'm a pedestrian, and I see Main Street as unsafe sometimes, especially, when you're going up towards the library. That intersection can be really treacherous for a person on foot. And a lot of these intersections with the wide crosswalks, and so I would like to see that change. So I really, I support it, and I think, like Councilor Moulton said, I think the things that are happening in Northampton now, like the new music venues that are going to come in, the Resilience Hub, all this new stuff that's going to come into Northampton, revitalize our city, is going to go hand in hand with this new redesign. And it's really going to be a great revitalization for our city, and I'm looking forward to it in the future. And hopefully we can work with the businesses downtown during the construction period so that it's not a jarring period for them, and that so the change is not, it's going to be a big change, but hopefully we can work with the downtown businesses so that the change doesn't affect downtown business and keeps downtown thriving through that construction process. But I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm glad that we have this resolution on the floor to discuss and to pass, hopefully. Okay, that's it.
Good job.
Thank you, Councilor Gore. Oh, Councilor.
Uh-oh.
I'll finish off. I figure it's fair because it's your ward, so and so that seems reasonable to me. So I wanted to jump in now to just say, I certainly don't need to reiterate so much of what is said here. I feel you, Councilor Gore. I feel like there's a lot of sort of pent up thoughts and ideas, and I'm great. So I think we're all grateful for the opportunity to speak and to finally respond to some of what we've been seeing in the Gazette and back and forth, and some of the things that we have shared. I think we've found frustration with, in terms of how this process, this incredibly long process, has been presented. So I'm glad I also am glad that we're having this conversation. I think the only thing I want to add to it, and I think this just speaks to what I'd say you summarized it, but it was a little long.
I didn't summarize.
It wasn't very.
Oh my God.
But it's hard to summarize that much good work. And what it says to me is that and part of the reason why I find it so thrilling to be here and so glad to be doing this kind of service is that Northampton does good policy. I feel like a lot of places can't even get to the part where they can identify what they want to do and how they want to be, and how, and because that's what policy is saying this is who we are and what our values are. And then, so we do good policy, we do the work to
to figure it out and hash it all out and do as much as we can to find consensus where there can be, and then identify what our priorities need to be, because you can't do all the things at the same time. And we do that hard work, and then we go do it. And that's what Main Street is. That's what this redesign is. We take that policy and then make it a thing. And that's what's so thrilling about this city, and what makes it so great to live here. And I agree, we need to turn our attention now to getting our downtown through this, and getting the business owners through this. But I couldn't be more optimistic or confident that on the other side of this is just going to be a real realization of a lot of hard work and thought and diligent process and public input and design work from incredibly smart, dedicated people. And so yeah, I'm ready to vote for this, and I'm ready to support whatever else is coming down the pike at us to keep moving this project forward.
Should have started with us in 2005.
I was elsewhere. Not 1998, the year after graduating from college.
Yeah, right.
I'm happy to be here now, though. So glad to be here now.
Like that one, huh, Karen?
Everyone has said things, and again, I want to echo what everyone else said. I think this is another one of these resolutions that every counselor wishes they could have sponsored or co-sponsored, because I fully support this redesign. And one thing that's been evident for me is that, with the history and things, that this is a city with a vision, and it's not just a vision of one person, but this has been something that we've worked towards, to, as Councilor Elkin said, that we have determined what kind of city we want to be, and we're taking the steps to be that city. And so this for me is a community vision, and communities don't always agree on everything, and there'll be some dissenting voices, as Councilor Maori said, but I think right now this plan really represents a community coming together and having a vision for what our future could be, especially because I think that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. We're still living in this current COVID reality where we're all pushed apart, and we're living in this time where change always is difficult, but even more so. The things that you could rely on, like your wide Main Street, all those things, a lot of that, the history of the city is hard to let go of, but what we're doing is we're not erasing anything. We're celebrating what Northampton was and what it can be and what it can become. And as some of the other councilors said, there's a tremendous synergy here. Even tonight, we have before us a ordinance to amend city lighting rules, which I think goes with redesigning our Main Street. For me, I have a vision of this place that is not only building the community that we have, but also making our area more enticing and alluring for other people to come and want to move here, or want to come visit and spend their summers here. Which for me also goes to our businesses. I believe that we're going to find, as things move along, as some of these venues open in these spaces, is that, sure, you may not be able to park right in front of the business you wanted to go to, but the best thing about walking past another store is something might catch your eye and you'll go in, and that'll, again, draw and drive revenue. And personally, thank you, Councilor Elkins, for stating that, this is my ward, and I have spent most of my adult life becoming the person I am in downtown Northampton. And I am looking forward to my children experiencing in Northampton that I love, but also something that's different and unique to them. So again, I want to thank everyone for their hard work for all of this, and I am looking really forward to voting for this and seeing what these changes are, and also being there as a person who loves and cares about our businesses and our entertainment, to help assuage fears and help guide folks as we move forward through things. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Councilor. Okay, so the mayor has made available some department heads who, I think it would be good to get some testimony from them on record. And, but Councilor Labarge, you had some questions. Why don't we start with you?
Definitely. Mayor, maybe you could talk about 6 questions I have here from a resident on my ward who this resident is asking again that the mayor or someone to answer his concerns. He is stating that he's not getting replies back from your office, and I'm stepping in on this now because I think Carolyn Mish has done an excellent job of explaining the situation that he has brought forth to your office and so forth. So what I'm going to ask you, Mayor, is that he said he had read articles in the paper that state there have been 167 accidents, 82 signalized, 74 unsignalized, and 11 bridge underpass. In the target area over 3 years, in 2015 to 2017, his first concern is that these numbers need to be put into perspective by comparing them to prior years and also most recent years, 2018 to 2022. And I know for a fact that Carolyn Mish tried to explain to the best that she can. He has not heard from you as our mayor. Can you explain this?
So sure. So first of all, I just want to thank the sponsors for this resolution. I think it's remarkably well done and researched, and I'm so grateful for all the work getting us to this point, but for all the work that you've put in on this resolution. And like others, I love how clearly the history was laid out. And thank you, Councilor Labarge, for sharing your own history with this project. And the history that you and I have shared and we all share now together. You all know my very enthusiastic support and my very strong belief in this project as really critical for Northampton's future on at least 4 fronts, which are safety, accessibility, vibrancy for downtown, and for climate resilience. So I'm grateful and touched by your partnership on this. And so I'm getting to your question. I'm also very grateful that we have department heads that are here tonight who can speak to some of these more frequently asked questions. So that question we got from you this morning. So that data, so I know Chief Casper is here. So the department heads that are here, we should say are here. So Chief Pelis is here from Fire Rescue, Chief Casper from MPD, Carolyn Mish from Planning, and Director Lascalia from DPW are here and can kind of get into some of the details. So I think that Chief Casper may have some data for you tonight, although that's a lot of data to pull, and so certainly for the next reading we can target those time periods that you mentioned and get that data. I do want to caution, though, that the data during the pandemic is not necessarily going to be your best data, right? Because that was a time period where there was much less traffic downtown. It won't give you the most accurate picture of what sort of a vibrant and functioning and fully utilized Main Street is.
He requested from your office, was that he was requesting to see the data by year for 2010 through 2022.
Okay.
And he has not seen that.
Okay.
Okay. Please have this data in place for City Council meeting tonight, which I have requested tonight, please. Maybe Chief Casper and Director Lascalia would be able to get that information for all of us.
Sure. That is a lot of data to pull and analyze.
It is.
So it couldn't be done just today.
Exactly. But he had sent this about a week ago or so to your office.
Okay. That is a lot of data to pull together.
You asked Carolyn to respond, and she did.
Oh, and Carolyn did respond to him.
So if the mayor's office won't, Joe will respond to somebody.
Right, if we have a department head respond with the information.
Yes.
So maybe Carolyn can speak to this, but also I think that Chief Casper may have some of those numbers tonight if we wanted to throw it to one of them. And
Okay, he's also asking.
Oh, we're going to do them all at once. Got it. Okay.
Something new, which you have also in your office, asking for data related to accidents caused by bikes. He does not see any data at all in the tables related to accidents caused by bikes. He feels surely there have been some. Where is the data he is asking for? He states, we all know bicyclists are very dangerous. I disagree with that statement, and so hasn't Carolyn, okay?
I would as well.
She has told them that. They speed through town, do not slow down for crosswalks, they run stoplights, and ride on the sidewalks, he states. And I feel this is a question also for Chief Casper tonight. His question is, why can't they be stopped and ticketed? When they don't stop for pedestrians and crosswalks, run red lights, or drive on the sidewalk. So tonight, I would like Chief Casper to talk about his concern on that one. And also, he's stating that others have raised questions about the logistics of implementing the project. The answers he is saying from your office indicate those details have yet to be worked out and will be shared when they are available. He is saying that is no way to start a major project without plans for all phases of implementation and steps to be taken to minimize impact to downtown business during construction. So this is it.
Okay. So that last point, Carolyn or...
He's saying he's looking forward to hearing from us on this.
We're about to do it. The last point, Director Mish or Director Lascalia could probably speak to. So this, the level of detail that he's requesting is at the 25% point, which is where we're at,
Exactly.
is not available at this point. We're at least 2 years out from the start of this project, so it does not exist at this point.
I think what is happening here is that there is so much miscommunication going on. And just reading the Gazette itself, where people are coming out and saying this and saying that, some of them have not even attended one meeting. So it takes just somebody to start something, but some of his questions here were logical. They were not bad, okay?
And Director Mitch, I think, has already answered them, but she can answer them again, and let's get into it. Let's do it.
This last question.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Okay, to you, and also Chardine, which she did an excellent job. I talked with previous Councilor David Murphy today. We were talking about the Rotary and stuff like that, and we started talking about the redesign of Main Street, okay? He had a very good question, and I talked with Councilor President Nash about it, and he thought it was a very good question that David brought forth, okay? Which was in regards to the question about the removal of 57 spaces as part of Picture Main Street. And I read this off to David late this afternoon and also sent it to him because he had to leave town. He was very pleased seeing this.
Oh, great.
Okay, very happy. So I just wanted to let you know that this was something that I said, ooh, wait a minute, that is a very good question. And even Councilor Nash said that. So I want to thank your office. I want to thank Chardine for immediately getting on that. It answered it.
Great, and thank you to Director Nardi. I don't know if
he has no problem.
Her answer, or she could also give that answer as well. I don't. So we.
No, he supports the sustainability right down the line, and after this, he supports it.
Great.
So thank you for a quick
You're
question.
very, very welcome.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Elkins.
I I'm going to make a leap here because I read the Gazette, and some of those questions sound identical to, or those questions, I feel like it's a public meeting, so we able to ask those from Dr. Platt? No, those aren't questions. Just because they're reiterative of, repetitive of many questions or points or, assertions that have been made in the Gazette by, a single person with a pretty unprecedented platform, as a recurring column that's an opinion column that doesn't appear to be fact-checked to me. So I was particularly just struck by how identical some of these questions were.
Oh, yeah.
To things that have been put forward in these columns, and
Exactly.
that's one of the things we're kind of working against here is that misinformation. It's not coming from the reporting side in the Gazette, but through various opinion and columns, and let's be frank about it, in the Gazette. So I was particularly taken by a recent suggestion that there is no publicly available logistical plans, and the idea that because somebody doesn't have an answer for how pavement material is going to get under the bridge and into downtown for this project means that we haven't had a thorough process. And
exactly.
And that actually led me to go to the website to look at literally thousands of pages of documentation, not just about the history of all of this, but where the plan is now, this plan. And I learned how the calculations are done to determine what kind of pavement material and how thick it should be, a different layer. That's in there if you want to see it. We can see there's a lot of data about the different accidents and the type of the sources and the years, maybe not the whole period of time that you're talking about, but the suggestion that there is not publicly available detailed information that is appropriate and according to the design standards in place for this kind of project at this point in the project is wrong. It's untruthful. It is untruthful. It's mendacity to suggest that, and I am frustrated with it, and I don't mind saying so. So I appreciate you raising the questions.
Don't you look at me that way.
No. I mean, that's what we do on behalf of our constituents, but when I talk about the frustration that we have had, seeing some of this and being a little limited about when we could talk about it, where we could talk about it, and lack of form to talk about it. As counselors, everybody else has had lots to say, but as counselors, there are constraints sometimes about when and how we can talk about it if we're around each other. So, so I'm glad you raised those questions, and I'm glad that we have another opportunity to hear from the very capable and smart people who are looking at the actual facts on the ground to say what the facts are. Because
see,
it's making me feel old.
The whole thing, Counselor, I'm going to let you know right now. Carolyn Mish did an excellent job going back and forth to that resident, and it's still unacceptable.
What unacceptable? The back and forth?
Of what Carolyn has mentioned. He's not getting what he is asking. That's what he's saying.
So let's do it here.
Let's hear it.
Let's do it here. Council President, I don't know who you'd like to call on first in terms of department heads.
Why don't we hear from both the chiefs in terms of emergency vehicles being able to operate downtown? I think it would be great for them to go on the public record here. I know
you don't want to tackle these questions first, even though I just asked you what you wanted to do.
Oh, sure, we can do these. I'm thinking.
I feel like I just queued up Director Mish.
Could she call she has the answer to those questions?
Yes, she could do that.
You should have seen
okay,
the face toward me.
Let's start with Chief Casper and whatever data she was able to collect in a short period of time. I don't make them appear. Are one of you going to do that?
Oh.
No, but that's what I've been dealing with.
I can't conjure them.
5 days straight. No matter what you
She
do,
unmuted you?
I know.
Caroline's been excellent.
Laura, can you make Chief Casper a co-host?
Oh.
I think the chief may have frozen.
The chief may have what? Is she frozen?
Frozen.
Let's.
I thought I had earlier, so.
Then let's go to Director Mish.
You got it?
Oh, yes, screen froze, hold on, is what Chief Casper says.
She's there now.
Carolyn's here. Welcome, Carolyn. And you are unmuted.
Hello. Okay. Thank you. Good evening, counselors.
Hello.
Is Chief Casper back on? Okay. So I think you wanted me to answer the question about sort of the details for construction. Is that where we are? Because I know that Chief Casper has some information that she was able to gather about accidents, quickly on the fly with just, a few hours notice. So I'm not going to speak to that. But, there was a question, I guess, about planning for the construction and plans for implementation. Again, we are wanting to move in that direction, but the plans have to be finalized before we can really determine a phasing and where all those logistical details, because we can't possibly create logistics without understanding exactly the minute details of what's going to be constructed. And I don't think in any project you could sort of jump ahead and plan for how you're going to roll it out without knowing exactly what you're rolling out. And then was there another question that you wanted to have addressed about the bike lanes, or I'm not sure if there was a question in there about that. If you could just clarify exactly.
It was more bike accidents, but that might have been, I don't know if we have that data or if that's what the chief had able to.
Coming back as fast.
She's been.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll cede the floor to Chief Casper because I know that she would be more able to answer any of those questions, and also enforcement of any of those. I will also say that my response to this about sort of bicycles being very dangerous and that bicycles go speeding through crosswalk intersections. I mean, unfortunately, there are drivers of vehicles that also make those poor decisions and create safety hazards. So it's not just one type of user in the network.
Right.
So,
Yeah, Carolyn, I know you answered, you have been extremely helpful answering his questions. And the last reply we got back, and you saw that, I sent it to you, where he apparently is not agreeing that he wanted more data, which the mayor heard tonight. And you just said, Chief Casper can get it, and that's what I've said also. So I want to thank you for working with my resident back and forth while the mayor's office to attempting to help out here. But we'll see what happens. I did notify him to let him know that I was going to bring it up again tonight for him, so that we could talk about it, and with the mayor being here, because she knows that he has some questions and he feels he's not being heard.
So I just want to quickly note that, we are always happy to answer questions, and we're always happy to gather data, but, that, I just want it to be acknowledged that, doing that kind of large data, not just collecting and gathering, but then analyzing it so that it then, can be presented in a way that is answering those questions, that's a huge amount of resources. So I just would like to acknowledge that for the police department, it involves a lot of staff and a lot of staff time. So we're very happy to answer questions, but I just, I feel like we need to acknowledge that some of these requests often involve a lot of city resources to answer, maybe a question or two.
And another thing too is about the trial run. And I'd like to get that clarified tonight, not just by him, but many other people that have been talking to me.
I've answered it a few hundred times, but we'll do it again.
You can speak about it. It's
and
like,
I'm happy to have the experts that we have on here to speak.
Can you just say, this is what and why I'm not?
I wrote a whole document that talks about it.
I know.
Yes.
It's like, why are they not understanding what you have presented about why a trial run will not happen?
I can't answer that question as to why, but, people are nervous about this project. It's a big change for Northampton. I absolutely get that. And it's a big change at a time where we've just gone through a big global experience together that's been hard. And so, I think that we're trying to answer all these questions, and we're trying to present all the data that people asked for. But at the end of the day, some people are going to be fearful of this project, and I hope once it's done, maybe they'll never say it, and that's also fine, but that they'll appreciate, what it brings to Northampton. But there may be people that are going to remain uncomfortable because this is a change, and that's hard.
It is. It's a big change. Yeah. And I want to say, I think you did an excellent job explaining, not just tonight, but even before, of reasons why the trial run would not happen.
Thank you.
Okay, and I just want to clarify that, because I thought you did an excellent job given the reasons why.
Thank you.
So I'm hoping that we don't continuously keep hearing this, a trial run, a trial run, a trial run. What more do we have to say?
I don't know, but we'll keep moving forward and saying whatever people ask of us.
Exactly. But thank you.
You're welcome.
For doing
welcome.
What you had to do about it, and I feel that you did an excellent job with it.
Thank you, Counselor.
You're welcome.
So before we move on, I think we had a question to Chief Casper.
Okay.
And Chief, Councilor Labarge was asking if you had like an overview of the accidents from like 2010 up until 2022, or maybe, information, about that range. I guess in particular what the question had to do with from her constituent had to do with that the traffic study period was just a few years, and they're asking if it stands out in any way from the previous 10 years or the time since. I think I've summarized that question.
Yep, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
And you're back. Great.
Yeah, my video hung in there for about an hour and 35 minutes, and then when you asked for me to speak it, an hour and 36.
Whoopee!
My apologies, but I'm in now. So the volume of data that Councilor Barge is asking for is not possible for us to produce in a day. I just got that email this morning.
Right.
What I did run, because what we typically use for many of you who participate in Transportation and Parking Commission meetings is we do a 5-year look back. So I pulled our Records Bureau staff from doing other work today, and they worked on this for a couple of hours just to come up with very raw data. But I have to say, I'll give you some numbers because it seems like Councilor Barge's person wanted some numbers, and I'm happy to provide those. But this is really kind of comparing apples to apples. This is a different.
My question, Chief, is I don't want you rushing on it. If you need time to get that ready, We're not going to have another meeting until what, Counselor? Is it November 2nd, our city council meeting?
Yes, November 2nd. I think Chief has an answer, though, that she's...
Well, I would say that I can't guarantee the amount of data that's being, 10 years of data to actually look at it would take us a very long time, because the way that
Okay.
I mean, when the design company looked at this, they don't just look at raw numbers. They look at who's at fault, whether they're at signalized intersections, what was the cause of the accident. In order to do a 10-year analysis, we have hundreds and hundreds of accidents that occur on Main Street. And I would have to look at every single one of those and then make a determination of how it happened. I don't have that time in 2 weeks, most certainly, and I know that our Records Bureau staff do not either. So that's just not a piece of information that I can get to council in a timely manner. I can give you the last 5 years of data, which just the raw numbers from Main Street.
Yeah.
If you want that, Councilor, I can provide that. Do you want that information?
Sounds like you have it right now.
Yeah, do you have it?
I want it.
I've got it.
Okay.
All right. So this is from January 1st, 2017 to today.
Okay,
so
that's great.
Yep, 5 years and 10 months about.
Yep, that's perfect.
Okay, great. So we divide accidents into those that are over $1,000 or those that are under, and the state does that for state accident forms. So that's why there is that division. It's either over $1,000 worth of damage, which then you have to fill out the state form, or under, and it's considered a more minor accident.
Yep.
So accidents over 1,000, we had 114. Accidents under, we had 200. Separately, accidents with injury, we had 17. Vehicle versus pedestrian, we had 17. And vehicle versus bicyclist, we had 7. So I can't tell you anything about any of those incidents, what caused them, anything else. That was just what they pulled today, but I wanted you to have that data, Counselor, because you asked for it.
Yes, that's because a resident had concerns about it and asked why it has not been done previously versus what he has stated on here. Could you send me that on an email, please? I would like that.
Sure, I'll send it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Also, I would say, Counselor, just for your constituent, that the road conditions haven't changed. So we sometimes get members of the community to ask us to regather data on something. But if nothing has changed, there's no reason to believe that the data would change. People want us to regather speed or regather collisions, but if there hasn't been a significant roadway change, we often don't see that information change. They remain pretty consistent. And what I would say does complicate it, as I think the mayor pointed out, we did have the COVID years. So that was a weird time, as we all know, when most businesses, many were closed, restaurants and bars were closed. So I just am always cautious whenever we look at data that covers any of those time periods, half of 20, 21, in that range.
Okay, because my resident was asking to see data by the year of 2010 through 2022. He also felt that selecting date that is already 6 to 8 years old is misleading.
As I said, I don't think roadway conditions have changed at all, so I wouldn't expect the data to change. And I would trust these designers to know that beyond more than I would, to know how to do this design.
Exactly.
They're relying on data that they trust.
I'd be happy with just what you got.
I think Carolyn wants to share something here.
And also, too, quickly on this one, is that he still feels that bicyclists are very dangerous. That's his feelings toward this. He's saying that they speed through town, do not slow down for crosswalks, run stop lights, and ride on the sidewalks, he states. He questions is why can't they be stopped and ticketed when they don't stop for pedestrians and crosswalks, run red lights, or drive on the sidewalk. So he knows tonight I'm bringing this up, so, can you answer that question? I can't.
No, we actually don't get a lot of reports of people bicycling on the sidewalk. As you likely know, there is a city ordinance against that with a $20 fine, but it happens occasionally. We don't see it a ton. And I think the whole reason that this redesign might improve that situation is because bicyclists will have an area to ride where they feel safe. I think one of the contributing factors to maybe when bicyclists are on the sidewalk is that they don't feel safe driving behind cars that are backing out. And certainly we've had cyclists hit when that has occurred. So, you know, yes, we could take enforcement action, but we always look at the 3 E's: education, enforcement, and engineering. So the best solution is usually engineering, because drivers and bicyclists and walkers, they do what they do. But usually what we have to do is make changes to the roadway to make them make better choices and provide them a safe place to be. So that's what this redesign does. I'd be happy to see those designated lanes where it would reduce that problem that he's concerned about, Councilor.
Right. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Carolyn, did you want to say something?
Yes, just quickly, one sort of, I think Chief Casper sort of alluded to this, but we hired design engineers to collect the data that's required to submit to MassDOT to justify any kind of modifications to the street network. So that has been vetted and reviewed for months by the MassDOT engineers. Also say that MassDOT's website has changed dramatically over the last few years, and there are multiple dashboards where anybody can go to the MassDOT webpage and look at crash data across the Commonwealth. So if any residents in the community want to go to the MassDOT page, they can find more information than they probably know what to do with for that sort of historic and relatively current data.
Thank you, Caroline.
Councillor Foster.
I'll be quick. Chief Casper, thank you so much for the 5-year look back in the raw data you had, and hearing that, combined with the research that we've already seen in support of the project, but 300+ accidents over the last 5 years is significant. And I think one thing that happens that I want to be really careful we don't spend a ton of city resources and time on is sometimes when there's disagreement, what we hear is, I don't understand, I need more information. And it's sort of like can send this wild goose chase going. But the information is there, and there is rock solid information. 300+ accidents in 5 years that Main Street needs to be re-engineered. And I think I'll just, because I feel protective here, the data also shows that when vehicles are traveling 20 miles per hour or less, a pedestrian or cyclist's chances of survival increase significantly. So sure, we can talk about accidents caused by bicycles. Yes, sometimes we hit speeds above 20 miles an hour, but downtown, that's not the case. So if a bicycle is, 50 miles an hour rolling through a crosswalk, it's not anywhere in comparison of a vehicle going through a crosswalk. I think it's just another red herring and kind of taking resources and attention and real meaningful thought from, and I'm not saying we need to answer people's questions, but I just want to acknowledge that sometimes that happens and it removes the substantive discussion as people keep, there can be a lot coming out of left field. Not you, I'm just saying that as a general response. So, thank you.
Councillor Elkins.
I also would, I feel I ought to mention that one of the questions about bicycle enforcement in particular is that it's a real equity issue. It is a vehicle for police to make the kind of warrantless, we call them Terry stops in the biz, stops of people at an individual level in ways that they cannot for just pedestrians walking down the road, and approach people. And I think if we were to get down to the nitty gritty of who would have those kinds of encounters with police, they would be probably younger. They'd be folks who, possibly more likely to be of color, young people, I also bring that up again, is that sort of whole population of folks who, it's just an opportunity to have ask him for a police encounter where we don't necessarily need one. And so I would not be in favor of stepping up enforcement in that way. It is something I see in other communities as a real vehicle for racial profiling, and I've taken those cases all the way up to the appeals court on bicycle enforcement being used that way. So I don't want to see that happen here, and certainly not under the sort of guise that we have some crazy, wild, unprecedented bicycle safety scofflaws.
Behave.
Councilor Maori.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
While we're on the subject of the bike lanes, and this what I feel was answered in the city's FAQ, but I have gotten this question since then a couple times. Fear of the bike lanes and car doors opening and bikes going in them. So Director Mish could maybe talked about the design, but really I was wondering, I would like to hear from Chief Casper. That it sounds like Chief Casper has looked at the plans, and we can't mitigate all risk, but that you feel this is a safe choice for Northampton. I think she's not there anymore. Oh, no. Oh, no. It's okay.
Are you speaking specifically about the cars that are going to be parked parallel? Is that your concern?
Well, I'm not clear. A couple residents have said that concern, and I guess I don't know. Maybe they're, it must be the parallel ones they're concerned about. So, as your role of chief, obviously we can't get rid of all accidents, but I was curious to hear how your reaction to this plan in terms of safety and what we can do about that.
Sure. There's two things I would say to that. One is that a short time ago, a couple of years ago, I can't recall now, maybe an expert on here would know, maybe Councilor Foster, I don't know, there was a new law that passed, the nickname for it was dooring, but really it's just that a driver has the responsibility when they're parked sideways on a road in a parallel position to check their mirror and make sure a bicyclist isn't coming. So actually the driver of the vehicle is at fault. Not that obviously we still don't want to have that accident occur. But that is a new law that was passed that hopefully has had some heightened education for drivers, that they're thinking twice, when they're parking, particularly in a downtown area, and that they're checking around them before opening their door. The second thing I would say is that, the majority of streets in our community have parallel parking on the sides of the street, and it's not a common problem that we have. I'm sure there have been some, but none come to mind where we've had a serious bicycle accident from a dooring incident where a driver opens a door into a driver. Certainly they have occurred. I'm not saying they never have, but it's certainly not a common, type of call that we go on with bicyclists. So from that perspective, Council, I really don't have any more concerns there than I do anywhere else. And honestly, the current situation where cars are backing out, where you really can't see if you're a driver, particularly if you're parked next to a large vehicle and you're trying to back out and you don't have backup camera yet, I find that much more concerning than having to park parallel. You actually have a better field of view if you're parked parallel looking for cyclists.
That's really good information. Thank you, Chief. And I was also thinking, it would also be the passenger door open. And passengers, I think, are more cautious in terms of, I think it's different if you're opening, the driver kind of getting out, or the passenger. But compared to, where we are now, I think this, it makes sense. And what you had said previously about engineering and education, that's a really good point. Thank you.
Carolyn, you have something to add?
Yeah, just to add that even though, as Chief Casper says, we have these parallel parking situations all over town, the Main Street redesign does include a little bit of a buffer strip between the parallel parking spaces and the cycle track. So that's an additional space where doors can open, without projecting into that bike.
Thank you. That's good to know.
Yeah.
Councilor Moulton.
Thank you. While we're on the subject of the separated bike lanes, which to me are really central to the Main Street redesign, I know some have questioned why they should be included at all, but I think that the U.S. has come late to accepting bike lanes as a real transportation tool. But what does your reading of the research show about separated bike lanes increasing ridership among bicyclists who are otherwise perhaps not willing to ride in with motor vehicles?
And you're asking Carolyn?
Yes.
Okay.
I don't have the numbers off the top of my head here, but anecdotally, we certainly had a tremendous outpouring of positive response when we had installation in the summer of 2020, where children and families were coming down where they didn't feel safe previously. But we also have had support. I mean, this isn't the first place we're using these, right? So we have them on Pleasant Street, we have them now on King Street. And I don't have the numbers there, but that separation, I mean, I think it's comparable to also having a landscape or a tree, a buffer between sidewalks and parked cars. People feel more comfortable walking on sidewalk spaces where there's a little bit of protection between the sidewalk and parked vehicles. And that's pretty consistent for both cyclists and bikers, having that little bit of buffer separated from moving vehicles.
Thanks.
Councilor Maori. Were you finished, Councilor Moulton? Yes. Okay, Councilor Maori.
Apologies, I just remembered when one of the concerns of the bike lane was when cars are turning right and the lane is there. I mean, I assume that there's signage, but I had a resident ask me about that, Director, about how, who's the right of, if you come to a right lane, and if the car is turning right and there's a bike lane, how will they know who goes, I guess was the question.
For right turning movement?
Right, yes, for right turning movement.
Well, the cyclist will be to the right of the vehicle, right. So the cyclist, if they're both making right turning movement,
if the bike was going straight, I'm trying to.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, a bicycle is a vehicle, right. and so both those vehicles need to, share that space and operate in accordance with vehicle movement. So, typically if you're turning right, you need to yield to vehicles going straight. But I think that the piece about the separated bike lane as well is it's going to be elevated. So drivers are going to be more apt to see the cyclists because they're going to be slightly higher. So if they were in lane at the same level, there might be, drivers might not see the vehicle coming up, next to them perhaps. But I think that, and the speeds will be much slower. So for both users. So I think that, the rules of the road don't change. Both users need to be aware of all the other users in the network.
Right. And that's a really good point about the slower speeds. They won't, they just neither will be going, what they could be on a longer stretch with higher speed limits. Thank you.
Questions. Councilor Foster.
I have a plant. Can
Can we talk about emergency vehicle access?
Yeah, I'd love to hear, we have directors here who have made statements to support the resolution, and also that have been, part of the misinformation out there is that we don't know what we're doing around snow and emergency vehicles. So, Mayor, who would you like to go first here?
How about Chief Pelis?
Yeah.
Pelis, welcome. Can we get him? Where is he?
He's right there.
Oh, there he is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, Chief Pelis, welcome.
Good evening.
So, can you? We spoke on the phone the other day, and I know you've been looking into this a lot. Could you give us an overview of the emergency vehicles being able to turn and maneuver and provide services in this proposed downtown?
Sure. So we were involved with this early on in the process, probably two and a half years ago at least. And there was like 3 or 4 plans that were brought forward. We selected the plan, and luckily enough, it was the plan that is picked, which is great. We made some minor suggestions to the design professionals as far as things that we felt would be some trouble spots for us, and they made the changes for us. I'm thoroughly confident that all our vehicles will be able to maneuver through Main Street and make all the side streets as well.
Thank you, Chief. Well, how about Chief Casper now?
Great.
Sure. Our vehicles are a lot smaller, so if Chief Pelis's can fit, then ours definitely can. What I would say about it is that it was one of our concerns earlier on too. Obviously, this is an area where a lot of emergency vehicles, this is a frequent call area for us, so certainly an area that we wanted to make sure that we were going to be able to fit down, no problem, and also be able to have some spaces where our cruisers could pull in, because if there's a disturbance right on the sidewalk, officers need to be able to park immediately and get out. And that was something that I don't remember when it was, probably was 2 or 3 years ago, we walked downtown for a couple of hours and we shared all of our concerns and talked about where vehicles could park. So I feel comfortable there's some loading zones we can use. If we really need to, we have that middle lane that we could leave a cruiser in if we needed to. We also have other pull-offs onto some, into the park, onto some side streets. So I feel very comfortable with it. This street is larger than almost all the others in the city. So bringing it down to 3 lanes is actually better than most of our streets. So, we navigate and are able to park fine in areas like Pleasant Street, which, is a tight street, but we haven't had issues with getting ourselves to emergency situations. So I don't have any concerns about that.
Thank you, Chief. And I'm wondering if we could talk to Director Liscalia about snow.
Brother.
Director Liscalia, you want to tell us about DPW's ability to deal with snow emergencies?
Sure. Hi, good evening, everyone. So I think what I'll generally say is that we're running snow operations for over 160 miles of city roadway. And I've heard a lot of commentary about kind of how we remove snow on Main Street and how we're going to remove snow on Main Street. Main Street's the only street in the city where we pile the snow in the middle of the street. And we do that because we have the space to do it. So a typical normal snow operation is, we remove the snow. So in Main Street, the way we're operating right now is a little bit of an anomaly. And I'm confident that once it's reconstructed, this will be like kind of any other area downtown. We obviously have some new facilities being built, and we will deal with those. So it's not anything extraordinary, and it will be folded into our regular snow operations like any other roadway reconstruction project is.
Thank you, Director. Counselor Maori, I gave her a promotion.
I just was thinking that with the director here, I had a DPW question, but I don't want to also change the subject, so I can come back to it. My question was about trees, and that I assumed that that Rich Parcelletti was involved in the conversation about trees on Main Street, and about picking out more climate resilient, appropriate trees for Main Street, and wider sidewalks with healthier new soil, and how that would ultimately be a better benefit for Main Street. But since it's under your department, I wanted to ask you about that.
Yes, absolutely, and Rich has been very engaged in this project, and one of the challenges that we have with all of our street trees is kind of the soil that they're growing in, right? And they sort of run out of root space, and they're pushing up against the asphalt in the street and the concrete or asphalt in the sidewalks, and that can be the trees' health can be supported with structural soil, and kind of creating a healthier environment for them to thrive in, and those are of course key components of the project. So we expect a much healthier greenscape as part of this project than currently exists, where you have a tree kind of trying to live in this very confined space with nowhere to go, and that's just not good for the long-term sustainability of anything that's alive, trying to thrive in that environment.
Thank you.
Okay. It's awfully quiet in here.
That's
Okay. Mayor, I'm sensing that council's ready to wrap up discussing this for tonight, maybe, but do you have anything you'd just like to add in terms of, good information you'd like to put out there, or whatever? Anything you'd...
I like to only put out good information. I mean, I guess, so I think it's been said, but it bears repeating that, we have a lot of this data and a lot of this information, if not all of this information, is available either in the MassDOT plans, in the story map for Picture Main Street. We wrote a pretty detailed FAQ that also links to a lot of these other documents. That is, if you go to northamptonma.gov, our website, it's right at the top on the banner. You can also get to the planning site, but we made it easily accessible right at the very top of our website. Click there, and you can get information about some of these questions that have been answered, and it also links to all of this other information. So again, I'm really grateful for the council's support, and that you're all on this this journey with us, and grateful for all the work that's gone in for now decades to bring us to this point, to this really exciting point. I really appreciated what Councilor Moulton said. I feel similarly that there are a lot of things that we're doing that is bringing us to this this kind of remarkable moment in downtown Northampton, and it feels a bit like a renaissance. We have a lot of different things at play, and I think I don't know if I would say it started, but I'll say it anyway, that when we redid Pulaski Park, I feel like that sort of kicked off some of it. And this is sort of a continuation of these changes that we've made downtown to make it livable, more accessible, more vibrant, more welcoming, with more space for people, more space for people to congregate, more space for people to express themselves, and just safer for people to be downtown, and that will draw more people here. And so that there are so many things that that we're doing that is bringing us to this really exciting moment, and I feel incredibly privileged to be a part of it, and I'm so excited for the future and for this project. So I'm very grateful to everyone, and a big thanks to the department heads who are here tonight.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilor Labarge, you can wrap this up, and then we'll move on to our...
Thank you.
What? You're raising your...
I am, after.
Okay, so, all right, Councilor Labarge, then...
Karen. I just want to say, Mayor, I think that the most valuable thing we need to look at is for all the businesses to come together, work with the departments, our Department of Public Works right down the line, with city councilors, and especially the mayor, of getting a plan put in place ahead of time, together, and work together on this so that all the businesses on Main Street will be prepared. And there will not be this big problem of total communication. They all got to realize that you are very willing to come together and hear how we're going to have that plan made to keep everybody surviving. Being business owners ourselves and our families, it's very important, it's crucial to work together.
I couldn't agree more. And, you know, I understand the trepidation that businesses feel, particularly after the pandemic. But one of the things I'm actually most excited about is all of us coming together as a community. I know how well we do this. This was shown during the pandemic. We pulled together for our downtown. We pulled together for our businesses. We're creative. We're innovative. We like to have a good time. I'm really excited about some of the ideas that we've been talking about in my office, some of the ideas I've talked about with Historic Northampton, with the DNA, with the Chamber. And, you know, I know that we're going to come together, and we are, one thing we didn't talk about tonight that I don't know if we want to sort of open it back up, but Carolyn could speak to a little bit, is that these things are done in sort of chunks. So like one section will be done and they'll move to another section. It's not like all of this, you know, the whole span of this project will be open at the same time. So when it's one section's turn to have the most heavy construction, that's when we throw all of our love to that section, and we create events and we find ways to support those businesses. And I believe so strongly in this community, and I know that we can do that, and I'm actually really excited for that. I'm excited for us to turn our energy to our downtown in that way and really show them how much we value them. So that's something I'm really excited about is coming up with fun. Everyone knows I like fun events, right? And I'm excited to bring people downtown and really support the businesses during that time.
We'll do it.
We will. I know we will.
Yep.
Does Carolyn possibly want to add something here, or?
Sorry, Carolyn.
The mayor kind of put her on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I also want to emphasize, you know, someone, I think it was you, Councilor Nash, who said some words about how happy you were that Damon Road project is coming to a close, and I know people complained about Damon Road construction, but I also want to clarify that this is, you know, this project construction will not be like Damon Road construction. I mean, there are some MassDOT projects that, you know, MassDOT undertakes and they just do their thing and it's just left to their own devices. This project, from the very beginning, when we hired the firm that we hired, we made, even in our request for qualifications, we said it is very critical that we hire someone who understands and can communicate and be that conduit between the city and the MassDOT designers and contractors, so that we're in constant communication and understanding what's happening at what time, and that we can bring that feedback loop back to the community and the businesses. So we are intentionally going to have a very much more hands-on process during construction than what you might see around the valley with other MassDOT projects.
And communication, too, is going to be a big component of this. You know, the plan is to have daily communication, have either a spot dedicated on our website or its own site or somewhere where people can go every day and get an update on what's happening, you know, what section's being worked on, any information that they would need about what's happening with the project at that time. So that's really important to us, that we're going to just be, you know, in contact with the entire community about it. so that people can plan accordingly, but also, come and support it.
Councilor Foster.
Thank you. I know you're getting ready to wrap up.
No,
Take care.
keep going.
Mayor, I have one more question for you. Before I do, I just want to really sincerely thank Director Mish, Director LaScalia, Chief Casper, and Chief Sealis for coming and being available tonight to answer questions. I think that communication is really important, and I know it's extra time on top of your already incredibly busy jobs and schedules, so just thank you. And Mayor, while we're talking, I just realized I'd be really remiss not to ask to give you a chance, because one of the concerns we are hearing is that, people have a lot of concerns about accessibility on Main Street. And I know that there are actually a lot of accessibility improvements embedded in the design. And would you like to take a minute to talk about what some of those are?
Sure, and Carolyn could even potentially pull up you brought the PDF, right? We could kind of go through them. That is one of the things, I think I mentioned it in the beginning of sort of the four things that I think are the four areas that this project will address. Accessibility is one of them, and we've heard from people, and I've witnessed it, and I think maybe we've all witnessed it. There are sections that are really hard for people in wheelchairs or with mobility devices to navigate. There's places where there's steep grades, where transitions are hard. Of course, the condition of our sidewalks needs to be addressed. The narrowness of sidewalks means that often if you're with a companion, you might not be able to be with the person that you're with. You have to go in sort of a single file, which is not how we want anyone to be able to enjoy our downtown. You want to be able to be with the people you came downtown with. So there are one of the things that I think are so important about this project is that, of course, anything we're touching has to be brought into ADA compliance as well. So there's some really remarkable improvements that are in here that Carolyn can walk through. And one of the main ones is our crosswalks are incredibly wide. So if they're places where they're 90 feet. That is a very long expanse to travel when you're crossing a street, particularly if maybe you are using a device or need a little bit of extra time. So shortening those, I think, is going to make that feel a lot, it will make it, will feel more comfortable for people, but will make it a lot safer as well. Carolyn, tell us what we're looking at.
So this is just a section, just as an example of some of the improvements. And I know this has come up several times, and concern about whether or not angled spacing, and Councilor Foster, you were talking about this before, that sort of, there are all sorts of mobility devices and levels of need for different people. And so some people prefer parallel parking versus angled parking, but we certainly heard that some people who need assistance prefer angled parking. So this is just a snapshot here of the center of Upper Main Street. So I'm just circling here. This is to orient you, the rainbow crosswalk. But this is an example of two of the accessible angled parking spaces on the south side of Main Street. Right now, there are just two angled spaces on the south side. There will be four in this redesign. There will be two parallel parking spaces that will be accessible spaces on the north side, and they're not just like the parallel parking spaces we currently have that are signed. But if you look here, this is actually fully buffered, this parallel parking space. So in the front, on the side, and the rear. So this is something that's a design layout that we don't have anywhere on our parallel parking spaces on Main Street now. So in fact, when people think about parallel parking spaces, they don't, I don't know that there's an understanding that there will be this additional disembarking and embarking loading area essentially for vehicles. So I wanted to point that out. Also, just as the mayor mentioned, the crosswalk crossings are much narrower, so you're not exposed to traffic. But the sidewalk spaces also being wider, we talk a lot about, means that you can walk next to or roll next to a partner, and you're not confined or impeded by sidewalk furniture or pole lamp posts or other obstacles that are currently in the layout. So that not only widening the sidewalk provides that opportunity to make it so that all users can walk in groups or in pairs side by side, but also people who want to take a rest can sort of pull over into that furniture zone and not worry about themselves either being tripped up by other people going along the sidewalk or also being affected because there's room to sort of pull back and sit down and be, just sort of take a rest and people watch. So those are a couple of key things, and there are many more improvements related to accessibility, so I'd be happy to go into details of that. I know you have more things on your agenda, so I can stop or continue as you wish.
There we go.
Could you just talk a little bit about around City Hall, some of those improvements?
Yes, sure. So the other thing, right, those are and not only are the crosswalks being narrowed significantly across Main Street, but the crosswalks across the side streets are also being narrowed, and because the narrowing of the throughway, the travelway on Main Street is occurring, that will necessarily pull those crosswalks up across Crafts Avenue, for example, here. That crosswalk is currently back here on the downhill gradient of Crafts Avenue. That crosswalk will be pulled up on more of the level portion of Main Street. So it'll be accessible now for people who have mobility devices, and they won't be in fear that they're going to tip over. They'll be unstable because they're at such a cant. It'll be brought up the same as for the South Street crossing over here. So that's another important component, as is the fact that at each of the traffic signals, there'll be a leading pedestrian interval, which means pedestrians and rollers or people with strollers will be out in front of the cars and more visible before the vehicular traffic starts to move. So that is an improvement over existing conditions. And that, of course, on top of the regrading and replacing all the sidewalk panels that are currently heaved in various places because of their age and because of the tree roots affecting them. That will all be leveled out, so we'll reduce those tripping hazards. And of course, the benefit of having tree box filters with structured soils is not only healthy for the trees, but it also means that they'll be much less likely to heave the sidewalks over time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Perfect.
All right. So the sponsors with this resolution are hoping to bring it back to council a month from now.
Yep.
And with the idea that this will promote community engagement, the discussion we've had tonight, and possibly garner more support for it from the community in the weeks ahead. And so, but we've gotten good information here, and we can share it with constituents, and the recording of this meeting will be available for folks to get the information that was presented here tonight.
Great job.
And thank you. And so I'm going to propose that we take a 10-minute recess.
10 minutes?
10-minute recess, and then we'll come back, and we have voice votes and stuff, and we will move pretty quickly through the rest of our meeting, I think.
Probably
So thank you.
freezing out.
Okay, welcome back, everybody. We are going to run back through our agenda in a proper order now. And Councilor Moulton that we pointed out that we missed something right at the top.
Yeah.
So I have announcements about public hearings. First, we have the announcement of a tax classification hearing per Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 56. The Northampton City Council will hold a public hearing on Thursday, November 2nd, 2023 at 7 p.m. in hybrid format in council chambers here at 212 Main Street in Northampton to discuss the percentages of the local tax levy to be the cookies, to be borne by each class of real and personal property within the city of Northampton for fiscal year 2024. Information regarding this hearing will be available for public inspection online at www.northamptonma.gov on or before Tuesday, October 31st, after 12 p.m. Instructions for accessing the hearing remotely will be posted on the November 2nd, 2023 City Council agenda on northamptonma.gov and all of that, no later than 48 hours prior to the meeting. And then we have a second announcement of a public hearing on item 23.377, National Grid Verizon poll petition for Water Street. Per Mass General Law, the Northampton City Council will hold a public hearing on Thursday, November 2nd, 2023 at 7:15 p.m. in council chambers here at 212 Main Street. Instructions for accessing the hearing remotely may be found on the November 2nd City Council agenda. And the City Council will hear all persons who wish to be heard thereon. Okay, next we are on to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have the minutes of the October 5th, 2023 City Council meeting, and we have item 23.384, in order to appropriate $15,000 to hire Stantec to evaluate parking fee structure. And that is the consent agenda. Are there any requests for removals? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Councilor Labarge and seconded by Councilor Jarrett. There's no discussion on the consent agenda. We can do a voice vote. All in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, the consent agenda passes. Next up, we have financial orders. And here we have, in order to rescind $690,000 of borrowing to acquire property on Sylvester Road. The City Council ordered that the City Council rescind the following order because such borrowing authority is no longer necessary. Mayor or Finance Director, would you like to speak to this?
Did you want me to, were you going to read it? Or did you?
Well, yeah, sure, I can,
I don't have it with me.
Oh, so order 22.097, so this is a previous order we approved, $690,000 of borrowing authority authorized under loan order approved on May 19, 2022 to purchase 229 acres on Sylvester Road to add to the adjacent Sawhill Greenway as the Russell Pomeroy Trail at Sawmill Hills. That's the order.
Yes, so this evening, good evening, everybody. This order is to rescind the $690,000 borrowing that was approved back then to acquire the property, as Planning and Sustainability received a state land grant and CPC funding.
Counselor Elkins.
I know suspension of the rules is not requested, but how much discussion could there possibly be about us not borrowing money?
So are you making?
So I know it's not requested, highly unorthodox, but I would actually move to suspend the rules.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Counselor Elkins, seconded by Counselor Jarrett to suspend the rules and consider approving this tonight. Any discussion on suspending the rules? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, so the rules are suspended. And,
Second.
okay, motion made by Counselor Elkins, seconded by Counselor Jarrett to approve this tonight. Any discussion? I just have a question, which is, so, where, we got funds from where?
State land grant and CPC.
Looks like Carolyn's still here.
Yep, she can speak to it more direct than I am.
She keeps muting. You there, Carolyn? Welcome back.
Hey. Yeah, so a year ago, we requested that authority because we needed to move quickly to be able to engage in an agreement to purchase the Pomeroy land, which, but at the same time, we applied for a grant and also applied to Community Preservation Committee. So both those sources came to fruition. So therefore, we didn't need to actually borrow money for this important land acquisition. So the property's been purchased. It's now permanently protected open space. And we've done this in the past where we have, sort of a backup plan if we are not successful with our grant application.
And how much did we get in the grant?
Well, it was two. We had about $300,000 from CPC and $400,000 from the land grant.
Excellent. I wanted to hear the $400,000. Okay. Any further discussion on this? Okay, this is, get these items straight. So this is item 23.388 in order to rescind the borrowing. All in favor of rescinding the...
Counselor Nash, I believe that since this is a financial order, we do need to do a roll call.
Good. See, I knew I was going to screw that up. Okay, so...
It's hard to go back and forth.
Yeah, so, Laura, could we do a roll call?
Of course. Counselor Elkins.
Yes.
Counselor Foster.
Yes.
Counselor Gore.
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett.
Yes.
Counselor Labarge.
Yes.
Counselor Maori.
Yes.
Counselor Moulton.
Yes.
Counselor Nash.
Yes.
And Counselor Perry.
Yes.
Okay. Item 23.388, in order to rescind $690,000 of borrowing to acquire property on Sylvester Road has been approved. All right, next up, we have item 23.387, an ordinance to make Sunday parking free on Gothic Street. This is in second reading.
To approve it.
This was sent to, we didn't send it to Legislative Matters. It's back here and up for approval tonight.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Counselor Labarge and seconded by Counselor Moulton to approve this tonight. This will require a vote, a roll call as well. Counselor Jarrett?
Oh, I just had a question. Go
ahead.
That's okay, yeah. Not the question, just a comment that you'll be able to park for free on Sunday, and then at midnight on Monday, you will have to pay until 6 a.m., which is fine, but I just wanted to note that you know, you'll have, if you happen to have a late Sunday night, you'll have to make sure you start paying beginning on Monday, midnight, if I have that correct. Correct.
Counselor Foster?
I just wanted to take, oh, jeez.
Karen.
I unmuted the wrong device.
That's okay.
It's okay.
It's that time of the night, Karen.
That was my lead-in. I've got everybody's attention now that it's almost 10 o'clock. Great, I've got the floor. I wanted to take a second just to explain my hesitation a couple weeks ago when we were moving to suspend the rules to not do referral to legislative matters. My hesitancy, I felt like I was a little bit maybe channeling my inner Counselor Dwight, was the idea, you know, that we heard a lot of, the idea of making the parking free in the Gothic Street garage to support attendees of First Churches, which, of course, nobody's going to argue against that. But at the same time, you know, we're not in a situation where, you know, just thinking about suspending the rules for, or, you know, parking to support, say, the Christian Science Reading Room, or, you know, there is not a parking fee, you know, on Prospect Street, but just that was sort of where I just wanted some time to kind of explore and think more. But bringing that in line with the surface lots nearby and viewing it in line with city policy makes sense to me. And you look like you probably would like to respond.
Sure, thank you. I just want to make clear that anyone can park in that space, that lot. It's not really a garage, it's more like a covered lot on Sundays for free. It was more, they brought it to our attention that this was sort of a weird thing that was, except for the garage, there's nowhere else that there's parking that you have to pay for on Sunday. So they're the ones who brought it to our attention. And so but anyone can park there, not just them. But thank you for making that point.
And as the maverick who, you know, pushed it along, never apologize for asking for more time. You don't need to explain that. I mean, I'm happy to hear from you, but I hope I didn't make you feel away.
Oh, no, not at all. I just didn't explain a couple weeks ago, and I just thought I would take a moment to, after my whole unmuting fiasco, I thought I would just take a moment to explain what my hesitation was.
Okey doke.
So we have a motion on the floor. And any further discussion? Laura, roll call, please.
Counselor Foster.
Yes.
Counselor Gore.
Yes.
Counselor Jarrett.
Yes.
Counselor Labarge.
Yes.
Counselor Maori.
Yes.
Counselor Moulton.
Yes.
Counselor Nash.
Yes.
Counselor Perry.
Yes.
And Counselor Elkins.
Yes.
Okay, item 23.387, an ordinance to make Sunday parking free in Gothic Street Garage has passed in second reading. Next up, we have a zoning ordinance. Item 23.349, an ordinance to amend Chapter 350-12.2 around outdoor lighting. And this is a lengthy document, and and Carolyn is here, and I think she can speak to this. And we're going to be referring to Carolyn, so I don't think we're expecting a presentation tonight.
Okay, great. Good evening again. I'll just briefly say sort of the lighting ordinance proposed amendment in front of you is a substitution of what we have now. So there were so many changes that it made more sense just to say throw out the old and bring in the new. There are still some elements of the existing ordinance that remain, but it's really sort of a reevaluation of looking at the ordinance, identifying more clearly what these terms are than what they had been previously or how they've been described previously, introducing different specification requirements for particularly commercial lighting and bigger lighting for bigger projects where you have engineers who are designing these projects and where you can collect more specific and information about the type of lighting, and also where lighting manufacturers have identified more details about the light output, the glare factors, the uplighting factors, so that we can really more closely regulate and make sure that new lighting for these larger projects are meeting our standards and our goals and objectives that we've had for many years. So this ordinance, as I believe James Lowenthal mentioned in the public comments, it really sort of is an update from the last time we updated our ordinance in 2007, and that was prior to the sort of the market flood of LED technology. And so this ordinance addresses LED technologies as well as imposes color, temperature regulations. And so it's really sort of bringing us to where we should have been several years ago, but the fact that we have been working through this process for so long just means that we get to keep moving up as the technology changes. So that's why this ordinance is in front. We've had a lot of conversations. In fact, we brought this in July to the Energy and Sustainability Committee. They've already looked at it, got some good feedback there, and now it's officially introduced so that it can go out for public hearing, both in front of the planning board and legislative matters. And I will say, I don't know if Councilor Jarrett, if you were able to connect with other members of the Legislative Matters Committee, but this could go to the planning board either in a joint hearing or a separate hearing November 9th. And then I think the Legislative Matters Committee meeting is the 13th. So we could either have two separate meetings on those two dates or a joint hearing on the 9th.
Councilor Jarrett.
Yeah, we're still, I've asked Laura to contact the members of Legislative Matters, and my hope is that we can all get together on November 9th and have a meeting here. But if not, then we may have to either hold one on the 13th or have separate meetings. But I think there'd be great value in the Planning Board and Legislative Matters being together to discuss this and to hear from, I'm sure there'll be a lot of public comment.
Carolyn, could you just speak to the term dark skies and how this meets that standard or not?
Well, our current ordinance requires, is essentially a dark sky compliant ordinance. When it was adopted in 2007, the goals were also in place then. And that really means that you have full cutoff, meaning there's no uplighting that's allowed. So floodlights aren't allowed currently. Lights, directed above the 90 degrees or the horizontal plane are not allowed. But this puts a little bit more specificity to that to ensure that happens. We're still going to have issues with, and so I guess, so dark sky just sort of simply means that you are capping the light so that there's no uplighting and sky glow and impacts to the night sky. And so that's in place now, but this is going to hopefully enhance that. What we've noticed as the LED technology has progressed is that there are dark sky compliant lights, and you see that label a lot on products, but it doesn't take care of all the issues related to off-site glare or impacts that people have. So this ordinance, in addition to sort of addressing full cutoffs and the dark sky issues, tries to get at some of those other impacts that are felt by on adjacent properties from lights. And they can be any kind of light, bollard lights, that are just short post lights, on up to lights that are on homes. We still primarily, that's sort of the biggest complaint we get, is that glare that comes out from the side of those lights. So this ordinance attempts to address that in a more fine-tuned way than our current ordinance.
Thank you. And I look forward to hearing more about this at the Legislative Matters Planning Board hearing. Okay, this is Councilor Foster.
Carolyn, thank you. I just have a quick question. I just want to check my own understanding. What comes up in Ward 2 is who the lighting ordinance, the city ordinance applies to and who it doesn't. So we have state property in Ward 2, and I understand that this wouldn't apply there. This would apply to new construction, right? Like new private construction. So my question specifically for Ward 2 would be, would this be applying with Smith College? And I understand it wouldn't apply to state-owned office buildings, if I'm correct.
We can't, it's correct. Zoning, we can't regulate what state, or federal agencies put on their buildings. We can communicate with them and ask them to play nicely, but we can't require them to. But yes, it applies to Smith College. Yes, it applies to new projects. We've had a lot of these standards in place for decades, so sometimes people might think that they have an older lamp or fixture, and so they don't need to comply, but in fact we've had some of these rules in place for a long time, so there is sometimes misunderstanding about that.
Okay. Oh, Councilor Jarrett, see you here. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm a little, so I think there might be some duplication or maybe just an edit error in what I'm seeing that we're referring. I'm sure we can figure this out as it goes further, but starting on page 9, it seems to repeat but be slightly different. So just want, and the numbers repeat for the sections. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure we're
I don't know what happened.
Yeah, what we're referring is really just the first 8 pages. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't see that. I guess I would recommend, I'd want to look at it to see what happened here. I'm sorry about that. I would just say refer it as is, and then we'll figure out what the editing error was.
Okay, great. So I'd make a motion that we refer this to Legislative Matters in the Planning Board.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Councilor Jarrett, seconded by Councilor Moulton to refer this to Legislative Matters and the Planning Board. Any discussion on that referral? Hearing none, we can do a voice vote. And all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, that unanimously has been referred. So item 23.389, a resolution in support, Nope. An ordinance, 23.349, an ordinance to amend Chapter 350-12.2, outdoor lighting, has been referred to Legislative Matters and the Planning Board.
Mine does not repeat, so
Oh.
maybe it was a different version.
So, there's nothing else on the agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Second.
Okay, Counselor Maori made the motion, seconded by Counselor Perry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are adjourned.
Yippee.
Thank you, everybody.
I almost said.